Hey girl, I'm Jamie Constantine. I'm a wife, mom of 2 teenage boys, and a multi-passionate female entrepreneur. I have a vision of a world of confident women who love themselves wholeheartedly. This is my new happy place, and I hope that it becomes yours too. So toss your hair up in that messy bun, grab your cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive in. Welcome to the Happy Girl Podcast. Looking for a little retail therapy and want to shop from the comfort of your own home? Head on over to happygirlpodcast.com, click on our sponsors, and check out None of Your Business Boutique. Enter discount code HAPPYGIRL to save $5 off your purchase. Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Happy Girl Podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Constantine, and I am so excited to have our guest here today. We are recording at the Called Podcast Studio here in Newport Richey, Florida. And one of the reasons why I'm super excited to have our guest is because, number one, she is also a mom and she loves fitness and all of that fun stuff. And she's going to give us some really great insight on different birthing processes with her personal story and go into some really cool dynamics of what exactly it is to be a doula. So if any of you have thought about different things like maybe home births or what exactly a doula does, and also being able to stay healthy and fit during your pregnancy, then this episode is for you. And I'm so excited to have Alana Breward here on the show with us. She is a fitness trainer and athletic coach, and she is a birthing advocate and doula. Alana, thank you for joining us on the Happy Girl Podcast. Say hi to our listeners and tell us a little more about yourself.
Thank you, Jamie. I'm super excited to be on a podcast. This is my first one, so I might be a little nervous. But
it's okay.
I'm excited to be on here and share what I know now. So I am a personal trainer. I'm also an athletic coach as well. I'm a doula and birth advocate. And I'm inspired from the doula process from my own birth, and as well as the fitness industry as well. That has inspired me from the journey that I am on today.
Okay, so you have 2 little girls, right? And then you are currently pregnant with your 3rd little girl. And during the process, I guess even before having children, is that where your fitness motivation and your fitness journey started? Or was it really just during, after having kids? Because I'll be honest, I wasn't motivated to work out until after I had kids. So I'd love to know where your fitness journey began for you.
Well, actually, my fitness journey began before having kids. I started back in high school. I was around 16. I started training with a personal trainer, and I stuck with him for 4 years, and then that kind of fueled my passion. So with that alone, I started looking into competitions, and I started training for them. So I'm highly involved in bikini competitions that I like to do, and that is what motivated me before having kids. And then obviously once I started having kids, I'm like, okay, well, I can't just not do anything. So I'm going to stay fit. It's my passion. It makes me happy. So I continued that journey as well, even after kids.
Okay. I love that. And then can we kind of go briefly into, you have something to do with martial arts and stuff too, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yes. So that's where actually I met my husband, Chris. It's kind of a little funny story, a little background story, but he used to be my teacher. So I can always say I won his heart over, and I'm the only student who did. Lucky me. So I started martial arts back when I was maybe 8 years old. And from there, I got my black belt. I was involved for 5 years, and I left to go to college and came back. And that's where I met my husband. And from there, just kind of I still do martial arts here and there, but it is a little hard with the kids because they don't sit still anymore on the mat. But that's pretty much where martial arts came into play there. So it's still a huge part of my life. I'm there practically several times a week. Just being involved is still something important to me.
Oh, wow. I love that. And one of the really cool things is seeing you, because I do follow you on Instagram. I watch your Insta stories, and you share a lot of really great details, especially as being pregnant. And then also during your training, when you're working out and you lift weights. Can you explain to us what the benefits are of lifting weights or even any type of physical activity while you're pregnant, and like how that's okay. And maybe if people are kind of nervous to get started doing that, how can you kind of set them at ease with that?
Well, absolutely. I kind of thought the same thing with my first pregnancy, that I can use pregnancy as an excuse. But then I gained like 41 pounds and I'm like, oh, I don't like the way I look anymore. So no, it's not an excuse to use that, that idea that you shouldn't work out or you shouldn't eat healthy because you're growing a baby. In fact, it should actually fuel you to start working out and eating correctly because you're creating life. That's very important to have a good start for your baby. If you start working out, what you do, it will teach them later, So that kind of fueled me into thinking, okay, well, I can't just not do anything. And besides, working out, eating like decently healthy, especially while pregnant, it makes me happy. It makes me feel good. So that's why I like to step into the gym. I love lifting weights. Cardio is not my favorite thing. I do not do it really, especially while pregnant. I mean, I'll go for walks, which is fine, but weightlifting is where it is, where my passion lies. It's where it's been since I was 16 years old. And continue doing that while pregnant is super beneficial. You obviously will feel good, but you'll look good. It just fuels you to be better during pregnancy. It's like a whole mindset thing, that makes sense, if that makes sense to you,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And it does, because I think especially just being pregnant in itself can, with our hormones and everything, and with the fact that our bodies are changing, it can definitely lead to some different frames of mind. So I think if we can do those things to make ourselves feel good all the way around, then it's a great thing. And then it keeps us healthy as well. Now, some of the things that, like when you're coaching, whether someone's pregnant or not, are there different things that they can do? And then is there like they can do like what do you call it? Moderated? Not moderated.
Like different exercises?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're trying to say. Yes, of course, because you can't do everything a person who's not pregnant doing,
Modified. That's the word.
Yeah. So when I coach people, things I would tell them, either they're pregnant or postpartum, because you still have to watch postpartum, like how you work out, because your core is not fully intact, most likely. So you have to watch out for those exercises that involves the core and the pelvic floor, because once you have a baby, those things take a long time to heal, and just being aware of the exercises that you perform will help like heal it more or less, instead of like separating your abdominals even more if you're not aware of that. So things I would try to avoid are, obviously, don't lay in your stomach, don't do exercise on your stomach, you know what I mean? And then if you are doing like weightlifting or a strenuous activity or intense things, just make sure you're aware of how you're engaging your core.
Okay.
So you don't separate the abdominals even more. That's pretty much it. Like you can do anything while pregnant, and even before. If you have an exercise regimen beforehand, you can do the exact same thing while pregnant. Now, if you're pregnant and you're deciding to start something new, obviously go into it gradually. Don't just go in it with like intensity, like I'm going to knock some things out, try to lose weight. Yeah, no, you don't want to do that. No, you have to obviously just be smart about it. Go into an exercise regimen gradually. Just take your time with it, but do something. Don't do nothing.
Right, exactly. And if you don't mind, can you just move your microphone a little bit closer? Because I feel like we're losing some of the words that you're saying, and it could be really important. Either that or put your face right next to the microphone. So I think that's really great. And you do make a really good point. If you're just starting out, whether you're pregnant or not, it does make sense to kind of just ease your way in, get comfortable, and then be okay with the small progress that you can make. Now, one of the things too is I know that you have like goals, right? Like after pregnancy, of course, you're trying to maintain your body and maintain how you take care of yourself. What are some of your goals once you get settled, after the baby's born, and then getting back, with the family dynamic? What are some of the goals that you have for yourself personally?
So that's been on my mind every single day. This is my third pregnancy, so I feel like the anticipation is just so high. I'm ready to get over with. I feel like the third pregnancy, it's obviously special, but it's just like, the routine. You know what I mean? Yeah. So my goals right after pregnancy, once I'm cleared to work out after like 6 weeks postpartum, and my midwife says, okay, I'm going to be hitting that gym hard. My goal is to get back to where I once was. With my third pregnancy, I started around like 118 pounds, and I was steady. I was gaining muscle, and then all of a sudden I got pregnant, which is fine because it's what we wanted, But now this idea of starting over is just a little annoying, but I'm ready to jump back in the gym. And my ultimate goal is to start training for another bikini competition. My goal is to get my pro card soon, or if not this year, like sometime soon for we might have one more kid. We might. I'm not sure, because, Chris wants a boy and he doesn't make boys, but, oh no, maybe one more kid. Who knows? But my goal is to get back in the gym, start working for a pro card, and step on a stage again.
That's one of the things that I really admired about you when we first spoke and when we first met, is the fact that you had this idea to train for a bikini competition, and understanding that life happens and you have a family and you're trying to grow your family, with your husband. Sometimes, you gotta balance it out and make it work with each other. But I think the really great thing is the fact that you still have that goal and you're not letting it go, and you're not looking for excuses or reasons. As a matter of fact, it seems as if you have more of a reason and more of an idea of sticking to that goal. Like, you're extremely passionate and so motivated about it. And that's what I love. And that's why it's really great to follow your journey. And I love the fact that you are sticking to that goal of training for that, and going for that pro card and really being specific about what you want to do. And I think once we have that in our mind, it definitely makes things more attainable for us to kind of just keep going and not look down and not be so hard on ourselves, and just keep doing the things that we have to do. Now, with your whole birthing, with the girls prior and then now, can you explain what type of birthing process and that you've had with the girls, and then kind of what you're planning on doing with this baby now as well?
Yes, absolutely. So right now, my biggest focus obviously is pregnancy and birth. So that's what I've been focusing on the most, rather than, getting fit for a show or kind of thing, or bodybuilding right now. So my main focus is to make sure my pregnancy is healthy and going smooth. So what happened was my first child, my first baby, I would do what a normal mom would do, first time mom, go to an OBGYN, figure that out. I went to an all women's place, but I have an issue with men. For whatever reason, this makes me fully uncomfortable. And they gave me a guy doctor, and I thought maybe I could try it out, give the benefit of the doubt, and it just wasn't for me. So then after that, once I requested for a woman, she came in, which is fine, at other appointments. And then I just felt like I wasn't being listened to. I felt that they were trying to control my decisions in my own birth and my body. And I just didn't like the way they treated me. Also, they had a rotation of doctors. So you would never have the same person. And for me, I like personal connection. I like to know who's there. Giving birth is personal. It'll either make you or break you, as a new mom. And I couldn't find that deep connection. I wasn't listened to. So I saw other options. I had this feeling that there was something better for me, that I needed to go seek other options. And I did. I started doing research. I looked into birth centers, home births, things like that. And when I introduced that idea to my husband, Chris, he thought I was freaking crazy. He's like, no, you have to go to hospital. It's important. It's safer there. You can't have a baby at a birth center. This is crazy. What could happen? You could something could happen to you. Something could happen to the baby, blah, blah, blah. All the normal things of the fear that is into our minds, and drilled into our minds.
Common. Yeah.
As women, we're taught to fear birth. And that's not what we're supposed to fear. We are women. We are made to give birth. So with that being said, I brought him to a birth center in St. Pete, and it looked like a house. It looked like, it wasn't prestigious or anything. It just looked like a weird looking house, oh, we're going in there. Yes, we are. So I took him in there, and the moment he started talking to the midwife, his whole view changed. You can ask him himself. He, like I said, once going crazy to okay, we're never having a baby at a hospital again. This is a good idea, With that being said, the midwives were genuine. They listened. They the model of care versus the model of care at a hospital is just different. There's a difference between a traditional midwifery and then a midwife, and normal OBGYNs and nurse midwives. Mm-hmm. There's a difference in model of care. So with that being said, they taught us how birth works. Chris was highly involved. My partner, it's just good to have someone there. He learned with me. Mm-hmm. And with that being said, I ended up having my first child at the birth center, unmedicated, in the water, wow, completely on my own, in my own space, on my own, my own time. Wasn't rushed, nothing. Everything was on my terms, which is what I wanted. I felt comfortable that way. I was in charge. And next thing you know, I had the baby. It was quick. I was really lucky. I was a quick birth. And then what was crazy was I had my first daughter the night before Hurricane Irma. So no one was on the road. Everyone evacuated from our apartment. So it's just kind of like eerie, but especially for a first time mom. But anyway, so once I had her, it was great. And I ended up going home in the same night, like within a couple hours, which was fantastic.
Wow.
And with that being said, obviously my next birth was going to be at home. And that's what I did. And then now with my third pregnancy, that's the same thing because it's the best option for me. I know I can deliver unmedicated and I'm in charge at home. And it's making me more comfortable too. Hospitals are great, but they're not for everybody, you know?
And you're doing like the water birth, like the goal is to do the water birth, right? And it's like, can you explain that? Is that like a big swimming pool in your living room?
It's like a giant glorified tub. Yeah, it's a birth tub. You know, it's comfortable. It's where I feel best to give birth. You don't have to, but your body kind of tells you like what position to get into or where to be or like it just kind of like tells you. You just have to be in tune with it and listen to it. And for me, the water feels the best.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. And I hope everything goes well, you know, smoothly as, you know, the other ones have and that you'll be okay with that. And I think that gives especially what you're saying with the comfort level and just knowing, you know, following that intuition that you had, like something's not right. I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel good. At least just looking at other options. And it was good to see that Chris was on board after kind of speaking with the midwife and then gaining some information. Now, this process and, you know, going through this personal journey your own with the pregnancy and doing things not necessarily at a huge hospital or anything like that, that's led you to becoming a birthing advocate and a doula. Tell me a little bit more of what really brought you here and what your hopes and goals are as a doula and kind of what a doula actually does.
So a doula is basically a birth advocate. They advocate for the women's rights during, you know, pregnancy, labor, and birth, and obviously postpartum. So if you're deciding to have a hospital birth or even a home birth or a birth center, it doesn't matter. You can have a doula there. Whatever your wishes are, their job as a doula is to help you get there, to make sure, advocate for you to make sure it doesn't deviate as long as it's within like safety, you know, of course. So doula means like you're the mother's servant. You literally take care of the mom. Like that's what we're there for, to help you make sure you recover and that you don't get things that you don't want, you know, because I mentioned earlier, birth can either make or break you. And if you don't have the right support team, it's easier for a mom to spiral down into like postpartum depression, or you see those like extreme stories of where like they just don't want the baby anymore, or like just like lack of bonding and so many circumstances that could come into play. But if you have the right support team and you know you have a plan for the kind of birth you like, you know, desire or so want within safety means, then that will help with just the transition into birth and becoming a mom. If that makes sense. Right?
Absolutely.
Also, like just being a doula in general is just, what I want people to know is that they have options. They have choices. Use your voice. Don't just sit back and take orders from doctors, because doctors are great. Like I said, they're there for a reason. They're there to help you. But this is your body. This is your baby. This is your choice. Don't let people like fearmonger you into thinking that you can't do something when you can. As I mentioned before, women are made to have babies. You're designed. You will not have a big baby, you know, and doctors will try to say you have a big baby, you need a C-section. No, you don't. You know, you're designed to have it. A baby will be in like, you have shoulder dystocia, whatever, right? No, it's because of the positioning that you're in. You have to, like laying flat on your back is not the best optimal position to give birth. You're working against gravity. So simple things like that, a doula can help educate you on, or just like help you into your best way to give birth and just protect you in a way, you know, just make sure it's so hard. Like I just want people to know they have options always, and don't just take orders from someone that you don't even know, that you think knows best. You know, you actually know best. You know your body more, like better than anybody else.
Hey there. Are you thinking of starting a podcast? Have you created a podcast already and just not sure where to upload all of your episodes to? Well, I want to share Libsyn with you. That's where I upload all of my episodes to get out onto all of those platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, iTunes, and so much more. They have such a great support team and they're very user-friendly. I want to give you the opportunity to take advantage of a month plus free by heading over to Libsyn.com and entering code HAPPY. There's plans and prices for everyone depending on your messaging and your audience. So head on over to Libsyn, that's LIBSYN.com, enter code HAPPY, and get a month plus free. Happy podcasting. And now back to the show.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. It's kind of like we don't know what we don't know. And being a mom, being a parent, anything like that, like it does, there's books out there, but it doesn't necessarily come with like exactly like how to really like go through your pregnancy and all those things. And I think traditionally we all kind of just, honestly, it's hard for us to kind of like think for ourselves sometimes, especially when we're going through pregnancy and when we're going through different changes with our bodies and our family dynamic. And a lot of times it really just is easier to kind of just go with the flow, do what traditionally we're supposed to do, what we've always seen be done, even though we knew back then, like they didn't even have ultrasounds back then. Exactly. And we're like, hey, at least we have ultrasounds. And we think, we're kind of conscious that, okay, we're at least in a good place with where technology is and all that kind of stuff. So we're just going to go with traditionally what the doctors tell us and kind of just leave it in their hands. And yeah, we get questions sometimes once in a while and be like, oh, is this right? Am I doing? But I think it does help to have someone that is there that genuinely does care, and it gives you more of that personal touch and that you're able to really guide them and go a little bit deeper into just going along with whatever is supposed to be happening. You're just doing it because like that's what you're supposed to do, right?
Right. But there's a little voice in the back of your head that's saying, no, this is not what you're supposed to do, or no, I don't want this. You need to listen to it. Women need to start being in tune with their bodies, especially when you're pregnant and you're going to have a baby that could change you. So listen to that voice in the back of your head. That's what I did, and that's what led me to here.
And then, so what does a doula do after the baby's born? Do you kind of like stick around for more or kind of follow up during like a certain period of time after the baby's born? How does that work as well?
So every doula works differently, but I would stay around for like a couple hours, just make sure the mom's doing okay, the baby's doing okay, and just to make sure I can cater to her as much as possible to just make sure she's okay, and safe and feel comforted. And that's my main goal as a doula, to do that for her. And after that, as long as everything's okay, good to go. And then I would just come back and check on her every, within 24 hours and then just go from there pretty much.
Okay. And I know like sharing your pregnancy journey, you show like, is that a doula that comes to you? Like somebody comes to your house, takes the measurements, she does like all those things. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. Like you don't even have to leave your house. Like how comforting is that she'll come to you and just figure out like, what are the kinds of things, like what you're going through with the person that comes to visit you? Like what's that process like?
The person who comes to me is my midwife.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's been there for my first birth, my second birth, and now my third. So I'm very comfortable with her. And this time, instead of like leaving to go to her birth center, she comes to me instead. So it's very traditional, it's very comfortable. It's very one-on-one, personable, and I like it. And she's amazing. And I highly recommend her to anybody. She listens to, like what I want in birth. This is my third one now. So she knows exactly kind of how I work, and it's just great to have her come to me and not having to leave anywhere,
Yeah, I love that. And then I think if people ever want to get in touch with you, they can definitely message you, and then you can share that information with them as well if they're like, who is this girl? And then you guys can just all figure it out together if they want to get more information. I did forget to ask you at the beginning of the show, I can't believe this, ladies, I forgot to ask Alana what her favorite coffee drink is. So before we get to the end and before she can share all of the ways to stay in touch with her, can you tell us like if you have a favorite coffee drink and what that is?
Sure. So I do have coffee here with me, but it's not my favorite. It's the pumpkin cream from like Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, yes.
So I love pumpkin, of course, but my ultimate favorite is this Viet coffee. It's called the Cafe Latte. It's definitely a $5 coffee.
Oh,
yes, it's a lot, but I feel like it's worth it. It's my favorite, but I think it really all it is just maybe like a shot of espresso with like sweet condensed milk, and it is the bomb. I freaking love it. I will have it if I can every day.
I love that. And I love that you can drink coffee when you're pregnant. I don't even know if that was like, if I was like, can you even do that? But I think
there's
that's
so
great.
many things they say you can't do, like eat fish and whatnot, but no, come on.
Okay.
Fish is so important for you. Obviously don't eat like mercury-filled fish. That's the biggest concern. But no, I eat like sushi. I eat fish.
Don't eat raw hot dogs, right?
Yeah, don't eat raw. I mean, sushi a little bit.
Right.
But obviously within moderation is fine. You know what I mean? But I feel like there's so many fear like drilled into different things that go along with pregnancy that you just really start questioning things because some things just don't even make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think if we go online, we could fall into a rabbit hole of finding out because some places will say one thing, some places will say the other thing. So maybe that does make sense to have someone like a doula or a birth advocate, because then I guess you're able to help them figure out those questions, right? Because you don't know where to look. You don't know. Sometimes you don't even know what to ask. You just think you're not supposed to do things, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I was there. That's my first pregnancy. And then, like I said, listen to the back of that voice in the back of your head. There's other options, other reasons for why it's telling you to do something else, you know? So I highly encourage that. I
love that. I just love knowing that there is a lot more freedom and a lot more options that you can do to be able to enjoy yourself and not feel so restricted, thinking that there's like these hard set rules on everything when you're pregnant, when you can really kind of just let your hair down and be more comfortable with the process.
Yeah, right? Enjoy the process. Don't restrict yourself with things.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Now, I think for people that are interested in fitness coaching or personal training, or even like, maybe if somebody is thinking of training for a bikini competition, or if they're pregnant and they want to get in shape or even start and they don't know what to do, or if they have questions as far as like a birthing advocate or being a doula, how can our listeners find you, stay in touch with you? And, if they have questions, what are the ways that they can get in touch with you?
So the best way to get in touch with me would be my Instagram, would be at Alana Breward. You can message me, just watch all my content on there. I do post like my doula specific videos on there, a lot of fitness related things. I'm not a fitness competitor coach. I'm not there yet. I still have a long journey ahead of me to become something like that. But I do normal things like weight loss, just like bodybuilding in general, just to get to that extreme, But competitions are not there yet. Not qualified.
Okay, that's understandable. I think there's a lot of like. There's a lot of people out there that are personal trainers, but people want to compete, and they're a lot of trainers are not specifically towards coaching for competition, because it is a completely different dynamic.
Whole new field.
But I guess if somebody is even thinking of starting, they have to really get on that. I think it's great to kind of get on that fitness routine and learn about their body.
Yes, yeah.
And then kind of go from there and then see where it takes them. And I would love to hear, I'm sure there's a lot of things, but can you tell me and tell our listeners what sparks happiness for you?
I feel like it's so broad, but what really comes to mind is, besides like my whole doula advocating for birth and fitness, my family does spark like happiness, true happiness for me, because I look back on where I once started, like going to school, going to college. What my plan was is like total opposite of what I am living now. And what I do now is what I love the most. And I did not picture myself being here like, 8 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my family does make me happiest.
I think that's so sweet. And you touched on a really good point. And I hope it's a good reminder for our listeners that regardless of like what you see for yourself, and you can have these dreams and you can have these aspirations, and maybe you have this vision and you want to manifest something into your life. But sometimes, life happens. This is reality. If we allow ourselves to go with what is supposed to be, it could turn out to be some of the greatest blessings in our lives. And I love how you touched on that, because we can't keep looking back and thinking, I'm not where I wanted to be.
Right.
This is we can't get stuck there, and just accepting and being grateful for where you are now and genuinely being happy about that. I think that's such a wonderful thing. I'm so glad that you were able to come on the Happy Girl podcast, Alana. Thank you for sharing your story and all the things about fitness and birthing and pregnancy and all that. and I can't wait to talk to you even more. But if you ladies want to check out Alana on social media, you can always check out her guest link on happygirlpodcast.com, and you can check out this episode and so much more. Thanks, Alana.
Thank you for having me.
Yay.
I'm over here giving you the biggest virtual hug because you just finished another episode of the Happy Girl Podcast. Wow. Did that just go by way too fast? If you want more, head over to happygirlpodcast.com for show notes and discount codes from all of the sponsors. And if you're looking for a tribe of women just like you to bounce ideas and ask questions, be sure to join my exclusive community on Facebook. The link is waiting for you at happygirlpodcast.com.